Joining me again is Jack Keane, a general who's a Vice Chief of Staff of the United States Army and a four-star general, and is now chairman of the Institute for the Study of War. You saw him earlier, but I talked to him earlier too. General Keane, thank you so much for your time. Hamas seems back in charge of Gaza. In fact, I've really got this video of its gunmen going out to shoot its Palestinian enemies quite openly, all caught on video, all transmitted. What does this tell you about the future of Gaza and what is to be done?
Well, the fact is there are still thousands of Gaza fighters that are alive, certainly less than half of what they started out with, but nonetheless, still a force that could rearm and at some point re-attack. And that is why Prime Minister Netanyahu, I know for a fact that despite all the public negotiations around the hostage releases and going to phase 2 eventually, which the negotiations are beginning, supposedly to begin this week on the second phase. And the second phase is Hamas is supposed to disarm and the IDF is supposed to leave Gaza, as an end state of the second phase. And Prime Minister Netanyahu knows a couple of things on those points. One, that Hamas is never going to disarm. You have to disarm them or kill them. And number two, he doesn't intend to leave Gaza because he knows full well now the world is seeing what he knows, that that Hamas is still there. They are still in control. There's nobody else that would dare raise their head and try to enforce control on the Gazan people. They would be killed immediately. And he believes, Prime Minister Netanyahu that is, that he needs to remain in Gaza for multi-years to be able to ensure the complete elimination of Hamas and then eventually a transition to another governance, likely by Palestinians, but certainly not Hamas. So I think the hostage deal, everybody is gratified to see progress being made, but at some point it's so fragile, it's likely going to be broken down over this very issue that you're talking and bringing up here.
The US Senate has just confirmed former National Guard captain and Fox News host, or have I demoted him? Might have been a major, Pete Hegseth as Donald Trump's new Secretary of Defense. How do you expect the US military to change under him?
Yeah, well, certainly no one has walked into that position with the least amount of experience that Pete has. I know him. He's a quick study. And what I've tried to do, and I've talked to him about it, is help him to be successful. The Secretary of Defense has got to be successful, just as we want our president to be successful. And we got to get the right people around Secretary of Defense Hegseth. And also, he has got a huge military capability out there, not just in the power of the military, but in the quality of the people. Our recruiting problems are essentially over. All of our services have made recruiting this year. Our retention rates are sky high, and some of them are record-breaking, which means people feel good about being in the United States military. They have a sense of purpose and meaning to it. Our problem, and where we need Hegseth to help us, Army's too small. You have to find the number and size of the Army. You have to go back to prior to World War II. Air Force at 40-year low. Navy cannot maintain the presence against global threats worldwide with the number of ships they have. And it's going to take us years to recover it. And we're asking so much more each year as the requirements are increasing of a much smaller force. And there's no funding to increase it. So we need Secretary Hegseth certainly to put together a budget for the Defense Department that really makes some sense to strengthen our force. And we certainly know full well that the Chinese military has been outpacing the United States military, and we're going to need his help there.
Well, you mentioned the Chinese military. General, I'm going to play you something you might think, hey, I'm a serious man. Why am I watching dancing robots? But yesterday was the Chinese New Year, the Year of the Snake. And in Beijing, the celebrations included these 16 dancing robots, humanoid robots. Incredible display, lots of fun. But as I was watching, General, I thought, no one invents robots like this just to dance with ribbons in their hands. What would they be like in a battlefield with a gun? Robotics, how is that likely to change a battlefield? Because China, I have to say, seems way ahead of the game.
Yeah, well, it's humorous looking at it, but I really find real human beings who are dancing to be much more entertaining than the robots. But look, the battlefield is dramatically changing. And you can see it right before your eyes. I mean, the number of unmanned drones, the Ukrainians have built 1.4 million unmanned drones that they put into operation this year inside of Ukraine. They built them themselves. Next year, 5 million. It's absolutely extraordinary. They helped to defeat the Russian Black Sea Navy using surface drones and under the sea drones as well. And eventually there are robotics on the ground battlefield doing logistic sort of things. Eventually they'll be doing combat vehicle robotics as well. And are we eventually going to see the kind of robotics that you just described there, humanoid robotics, so to speak, who can move with a lot more physical dexterity and do other things than maybe what these robots can do because they're an early generation? Yeah, it's coming. It is absolutely a fact. And all of this is moving very quickly because AI is exponentially solving some of the problems that we've had with robotics early on. And yes, warfare is going through a major technological change that historians will look on and identify as a very critical period that we're living in right now.
All the more reason for America to beat China in the new battleground of artificial intelligence. That's going on right as we speak, that massive battle to come first in that one. General Jack Keane, thank you so much for your time.